10 Weird Things a Narcissist Does When They Hit Collapse. Stoicism. Nothing external, even the collapse of a narcissist, can disturb your inner peace if you remain true to your principles. Inspired by Marcus Aurelius. Have you ever wondered what really happens when a narcissist hits rock bottom? Today, we're diving into the strange and unexpected behaviors they exhibit during this phase. These aren't just the typical reactions you'd expect. They're downright bizarre. Welcome to Stoic In Your Life, where we blend ancient wisdom with modern challenges. In this episode, we're uncovering the 10 weird things a narcissist does when they hit collapse. If you're curious about these behaviors and how understanding them can help you maintain your stoic calm, you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to join our community of resilient minds and help spread the word about the power of Stoicism. Now let's get started with the first bizarre behavior on our list. Number 1. They run to their old sources of supply in search of some comfort. When a narcissist collapses, one of the first things they do is desperately seek out their old sources of supply, hoping for some semblance of comfort. They're in the throes of a personal crisis, but rather than confront their insecurities and the rotten core beneath their grandiose facade, they reach out to those they abandoned or hurt in the past. They selfishly expect these individuals to provide solace and a safe haven, allowing the narcissist to escape the turmoil of their breakdown. However, more often than not, these people have moved on and see the narcissist for what they truly are, a parasite. By reaching out, the narcissist attempts to cling to their crumbling false self. They need attention, validation, and someone's emotions to keep this illusion alive. This need is akin to a vampire who is low on blood, desperately seeking any source to quench their insatiable thirst for supply. A narcissist's behavior during collapse can be bewildering and frustrating for those around them. They might engage in erratic or bizarre actions, such as attempting to rekindle old relationships with people they've wronged. This is not a genuine attempt at reconciliation, but rather a desperate bid to restore their sense of superiority and control. The underlying fear and insecurity driving these actions are masked by their over-the-top bravado and manipulation tactics. You might wonder, why do they behave this way? It's because their entire identity is built on a fragile foundation of external validation. When that foundation starts to crack, they scramble to find anything to shore it up. Stoicism teaches us to face our realities with courage and to accept the things we cannot change. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." A narcissist, however, does the opposite. They refuse to confront their inner turmoil and instead try to manipulate their external environment to fit their distorted self-image. They cannot accept their vulnerabilities and weaknesses, so they project an exaggerated sense of self-importance and seek constant validation. In the midst of collapse, a narcissist might also lash out at those closest to them, projecting their feelings of inadequacy and failure onto others. This is a defense mechanism to avoid facing their own shortcomings. They might blame others for their problems, creating a whirlwind of drama and conflict. This chaotic behavior is a stark contrast to the Stoic ideal of maintaining tranquility and rationality in the face of adversity. As they spiral, a narcissist's actions become increasingly irrational and desperate. They might engage in risky or self-destructive behaviors in a bid to distract themselves from their internal crisis. This is a way to numb their feelings of worthlessness and maintain their grandiose self-image. They might also engage in attention-seeking behaviors, trying to elicit sympathy or admiration from others. This can take many forms, from playing the victim to exaggerating their accomplishments. It's essential to recognize that a narcissist's collapse is a result of their inability to maintain their false self. This false self is a carefully constructed facade designed to protect their fragile ego. When this facade begins to crumble, they are left feeling exposed and vulnerable. Their actions during this time are driven by a desperate need to regain control and restore their sense of superiority. Marcus Aurelius, Another Stoic philosopher advised, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." A narcissist, however, seeks to control everything around them, believing that their worth is determined by how others perceive them. This external locus of control is inherently unstable, leading to the inevitable collapse when reality fails to conform to their expectations. As a narcissist attempts to rebuild their shattered self-image, they might resort to manipulation and deceit. They might try to charm or intimidate others into giving them the validation they crave. This behavior can be particularly confusing for those who are unaware of the narcissist's true nature. It's important to remain vigilant and not get drawn into their games. The cycle of a narcissist's collapse and subsequent attempts at restoration is a painful process for everyone involved. It's a stark reminder of the importance of self-awareness and genuine self-esteem. Unlike the narcissist who relies on external validation, Stoicism teaches us to find strength within ourselves. As Seneca said, "The greatest wealth is to live content with little." True contentment and strength come from within, not from the approval of others. As we observe a narcissist in collapse, it can be tempting to feel a sense of schadenfreude or satisfaction at their downfall. However, a more stoic response would be to view this as an opportunity for compassion and understanding. Narcissism is often rooted in deep-seated insecurities and past traumas. While this doesn't excuse their behavior, it does provide a context for their actions. We can also use this as a learning moment to reflect on our own behaviors and attitudes. Are there areas in our lives where we seek external validation rather than finding contentment within ourselves? How can we cultivate a sense of inner peace and resilience that isn't dependent on the opinions of others? These are questions that can help us grow and develop a more stoic mindset. A narcissist's collapse is a complex and often chaotic process, driven by their desperate need to maintain their false self. Their actions, though bewildering and hurtful, are rooted in deep-seated insecurities and a fragile sense of self-worth. By understanding this, we can better navigate our interactions with narcissists and strive to cultivate our own inner strength and tranquility, in line with Stoic principles. So how can you apply these insights to your own life? How can you ensure that your sense of self-worth is not dependent on external validation, but rather on a deep-seated understanding of your own value? Reflect on these questions and strive to embody the Stoic virtues of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance in your daily life. Number 2, they gaslight themselves. Narcissists, when confronted with collapse, often resort to gaslighting themselves. This means they convince themselves that they do not exist, or that their experiences are not real. In psychological terms, this extreme coping mechanism is known as mitigation, a response that kicks in when all other forms of adaptation have failed. Imagine facing a situation so painful that the only perceived escape is to deny its reality entirely. For narcissists, this means distorting their own reality to the point where they believe they are not a real person. This form of dissociation serves as a way to avoid facing their true selves, which, according to Stoic wisdom, is a form of self-denial that leads to further suffering. As the great Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "People are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them." By denying their reality, narcissists amplify their distress rather than alleviating it. In their quest to escape pain, narcissists deny their true self, dismantling any authentic sense of identity. The false self, once a shield against vulnerability, is shattered, leaving them with only fragments of their original identity. This denial propels them into an extreme state of avoidance, often leading them to neglect their current circumstances entirely. They might seek out new relationships or situations to distract themselves, perpetuating a cycle of evasion and superficial connections. This behavior is a stark contrast to the Stoic practice of facing one's reality with courage and integrity. As Marcus Aurelius advised, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." By confronting our difficulties head-on, we transform obstacles into opportunities for growth. This self-gaslighting can be seen as a desperate attempt to maintain control in a world that feels increasingly uncontrollable. Narcissists, whose self-worth often hinges on external validation, find it unbearable to acknowledge their flaws and failures. So, they fabricate a new reality where they are blameless, and their circumstances are not as dire as they seem. This denial, however, only deepens their psychological wounds. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, reminds us, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Narcissists, in their craving for a flawless image, impoverish themselves by losing touch with their genuine selves. In modern life, many of us may not face such extreme forms of self-deception, but we can still fall into the trap of avoiding uncomfortable truths, whether it's denying our mistakes at work, overlooking issues in our relationships, or refusing to confront our own insecurities. These behaviors are subtle forms of self-gaslighting. The wisdom of Stoicism encourages us to embrace reality with clarity and courage. By acknowledging our imperfections and challenges, we can begin to address them constructively, fostering personal growth and resilience. To navigate life's challenges effectively, it's crucial to adopt a Stoic mindset. This means cultivating self-awareness, practicing acceptance, and taking responsibility for our actions. Instead of denying reality, we should strive to understand it, learn from it, and adapt accordingly. The Stoic practice of daily reflection can be particularly beneficial. By examining our thoughts and actions at the end of each day, we can identify areas where we might be deceiving ourselves and take steps to correct our course. Moreover, the importance of seeking genuine connections and support cannot be overstated. Narcissists often isolate themselves in their delusions, but we can choose differently. By building a network of trusted friends and mentors, we can gain valuable perspectives and encouragement. As the philosopher Seneca wisely noted, one of the most beautiful qualities of true friendship is to understand and to be understood. In our journey towards self-improvement, having others who can offer honest feedback and support is invaluable. Ultimately, understanding the bizarre behaviors of narcissists when they hit collapse can serve as a powerful reminder of the importance of facing reality with honesty and integrity. By embracing the principles of Stoicism, we can navigate our own challenges with greater wisdom and resilience, transforming obstacles into opportunities for growth and self-discovery. As we strive to live authentically, let us remember the words of Marcus Aurelius. "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Number 3. They experience extreme paranoia. When a narcissist hits collapse, one of the most bizarre behaviors they exhibit is extreme paranoia. This isn't just regular paranoia, it's a deeply ingrained, existence-threatening kind. During this period, they become convinced that everyone and everything is out to get them, hurt them, deceive them, and fool them. Trust, which is already a scarce commodity for narcissists, becomes virtually non-existent. They retreat into themselves, often resembling someone who is deeply depressed. Their paranoia extends to every facet of their lives. They worry obsessively about their health, their finances, and even their children. Every person becomes a potential threat, leading to heightened anger and frustration. This paranoia is a manifestation of all their suppressed fears, now bubbling to the surface with an intensity that is overwhelming. These are not just ordinary fears. They are rooted in deep-seated childhood trauma and abuse that the narcissist has never confronted. Imagine a person who has spent their entire life running from their shadows, only to be suddenly surrounded by them. The fragility they have kept buried is now in full view, and they are ill-equipped to deal with it. They never wanted to acknowledge this vulnerability, but now, as it forces its way into their consciousness, the result is a severe and often irrational fear. To put this into perspective, consider the story of Lisa, a successful entrepreneur who seemed to have it all together. She was always in control, always the one making decisions, and never showed any signs of weakness. However, behind closed doors, she was a classic narcissist. When her business started to fail, she didn't just worry about her financial losses. She became convinced that her employees were plotting against her, that her friends were secretly hoping for her downfall, and even that her family was undermining her. Lisa started isolating herself, avoiding even those who genuinely cared for her. Her health deteriorated because she was too paranoid to see a doctor, fearing they would give her bad news. Lisa's story is a clear example of how a narcissist's paranoia can spiral out of control, leading them to self-destructive behaviors. Have you ever wondered why some people react so extremely to stress and setbacks? It's often because they are battling inner demons that have nothing to do with the present situation. This brings us to an important question. How can we, as individuals, better understand and support those who may be going through such intense psychological turmoil? Understanding that a narcissist's paranoia is deeply rooted in their unresolved past can help us approach the situation with empathy. Instead of seeing their behavior as merely irrational or frustrating, we can recognize it as a cry for help from someone who is terrified of facing their own vulnerabilities. However, it's also crucial to protect ourselves from the potentially harmful behaviors of a narcissist in collapse. This balance of empathy and self-protection is challenging but necessary. In navigating relationships with narcissists, especially during their collapse, we can draw from Stoic principles. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." This means that we must guard our own thoughts and emotions, ensuring that we remain resilient and unaffected by the turmoil of others. Epictetus also taught that we cannot control others, only our responses to them. By focusing on our own reactions and maintaining our inner peace, we can withstand the storm of a narcissist's collapse without getting swept away by it. So, what are the lessons here? First, recognize that extreme behaviors often have deep-rooted causes that are not immediately visible. Second, approach such situations with empathy but also maintain your boundaries to protect your well-being. Finally, remember the Stoic wisdom of controlling what you can, your own thoughts and reactions. By doing so, you can navigate the complexities of dealing with a narcissist in collapse while also preserving your own peace of mind. How do you think you would handle a situation involving someone experiencing this level of paranoia? Would you be able to maintain your composure and apply Stoic principles? Or do you think you might struggle with the emotional toll? Reflecting on these questions can help you prepare for challenging interactions and build resilience. Number 4. They experience dissociative amnesia. When a narcissist hits collapse, another bewildering behavior they exhibit is dissociative amnesia. This isn't just forgetfulness, it's a profound disconnect from reality. Picture this. In their effort to escape the harsh truth of their existence, they experience phases where they completely zone out. It's like they switch off from the world, forgetting what was happening and why they feel so much pain. Then, abruptly, they snap back to reality, overwhelmed by the collapse they've tried to avoid. This sudden return brings with it a torrent of anxiety attacks, panic attacks, and inexplicable bouts of rage. To an observer, these reactions seem chaotic and irrational, akin to someone regaining consciousness after being in a state of shock and feeling every ounce of pain all at once. It's an extreme state, much like being torn between two worlds, one of oblivion and one of intense suffering. This dissociative amnesia can sometimes resemble the manic episodes seen in bipolar disorder, or the hyperactivity associated with ADHD. It's important to note that not every individual with ADHD or bipolar disorder is a narcissist. These are merely comparisons to help you grasp the intensity of a narcissist's behavior during collapse. Their mania is beyond comprehension. They may appear euphoric, bursting with energy, and display a level of hyperactivity that seems almost celebratory. They might dress up, go out, and act as if they have conquered their depression. However, this facade is short-lived. Within days, they plummet back into the depths of their collapse. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." For a narcissist in collapse, their thoughts are a battleground, oscillating between delusions of grandeur and the crushing reality of their true self. The stark contrast between their internal world and external behavior creates a cycle of self-deception and inevitable collapse. This cycle can be perplexing to those around them, leading to misunderstandings and false assumptions about their mental health. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to live in such a state of constant turmoil? How does one navigate a world where reality and fantasy are in perpetual conflict? The narcissist's journey through dissociative amnesia provides a glimpse into the inner workings of a mind desperate to escape itself. This mental state is not just about forgetting, it's about the mind's struggle to reconcile its perception with reality. The collapse is a stark reminder of the narcissist's inability to sustain their grandiose self-image. The narcissist's reaction to their own collapse is a testament to their fragile ego and the lengths they will go to avoid facing their true self. Their dissociative amnesia is a defense mechanism, a way to protect their ego from the painful truth. Imagine being in a state where your mind constantly shifts between two extremes. One moment, you're detached from reality, oblivious to your surroundings, and the next, you're acutely aware of the collapse, feeling every bit of anxiety and rage. This oscillation is exhausting and disorienting, not just for the narcissist, but for those around them as well. To understand this behavior, we must delve deeper into the narcissist's psyche. Their need for validation and admiration is insatiable. When they fail to receive this, their carefully constructed self-image begins to crumble. This collapse triggers dissociative amnesia as a way to escape the painful realization of their flaws. However, this escape is temporary. Sooner or later, they are forced to confront their collapse, leading to intense emotional turmoil. Seneca once remarked, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." This insatiable craving for admiration and validation is the root of the narcissist's collapse. Their dissociative amnesia is a manifestation of their inner poverty, a desperate attempt to fill the void within. As you ponder this, consider the impact on those who interact with the narcissist. How does one deal with someone who is constantly shifting between oblivion and intense emotional turmoil? The unpredictability of the narcissist's behavior can be draining, leading to a cycle of confusion and frustration. Reflecting on this, we see that the narcissist's collapse is not just a personal struggle, but a social one. Their dissociative amnesia affects their relationships, creating a ripple effect of instability and emotional upheaval. This behavior serves as a stark reminder of the importance of self-awareness and the dangers of living in a state of constant denial. Dissociative amnesia in a narcissist is a complex and extreme response to their internal collapse. It's a testament to the fragile nature of their ego and their desperate attempts to avoid facing the truth. As we navigate our interactions with such individuals, let us remember the words of Marcus Aurelius, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Understanding this can help us approach these situations with empathy and insight, recognizing the profound struggle within the narcissist and the impact on those around them. What strategies can we employ to maintain our own sanity while dealing with such unpredictable behavior? How can we foster a sense of stability in the face of such turmoil? These questions invite us to explore deeper aspects of human psychology and our responses to it, ultimately enriching our understanding and compassion. Thank you for joining us in today's video. If you found this exploration insightful, please share your thoughts in the comments. Remember, the journey to healing is ongoing, and each step we take brings us closer to inner peace. Stick around. We've only been halfway on this journey. Number 5. They accuse everybody. Let's continue on our journey into understanding the peculiar behaviors of narcissists during their collapse and how Stoicism can guide us through these turbulent encounters. Now, we will delve into the 5th particularly unsettling behavior, the relentless accusations narcissists hurl at those around them. This behavior isn't just annoying, it's a symptom of their deeper psychological turmoil, and understanding it can help us navigate these challenging interactions with more wisdom and resilience. Have you ever noticed how a narcissist seems to be constantly pointing fingers, blaming others for things they haven't done or even considered doing? During a collapse, this behavior becomes even more pronounced. The narcissist enters a state of extreme hypervigilance, convinced without any evidence that they are being wronged. This leads to ghosting, further abuse, and a cascade of trauma, ultimately resulting in their own isolation. Who would want to remain close to someone who perpetually questions their motives, never trusts them, and consistently blames them despite their best efforts to care and support? They might say, "You did this, you did that," even when you know you didn't. Over time, this relentless negativity drives everyone away, leaving the narcissist in a self-imposed exile. They don't value your compassion. They crave the emotional fuel that comes from conflict and control. This aligns with the Stoic principle of understanding that we can only control our own actions and reactions, not the behaviors of others. As Marcus Aurelius wisely stated, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." So, what does this mean for us? In modern life, dealing with a narcissist's collapse can be incredibly draining. It's essential to protect your own mental health and set firm boundaries. Remember that their accusations are not reflections of your worth or actions, but projections of their own insecurities and fears. Seneca reminds us, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Recognizing this can help us stay grounded and not take their attacks personally. For those who try to support a narcissist during their collapse, the experience can be particularly heart-wrenching. The more you give, the more they take, without ever acknowledging your efforts. This imbalance inevitably leads to a breaking point where you must choose to prioritize your well-being over their endless demands. This decision can be guided by Epictetus's wisdom. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. By choosing to step away, you're not abandoning them. You're preserving your own peace and sanity. This pattern of behavior also highlights a critical lesson in Stoicism: the importance of self-awareness and self-control. While a narcissist spirals into their destructive habits, we have the power to choose a different path. By staying mindful of our responses and maintaining our integrity, we can rise above their chaos. This doesn't mean we should become indifferent to their suffering, but rather approach it with a sense of detachment that protects our inner tranquility. The collapse of a narcissist is a deeply troubling phenomenon, marked by incessant accusations and isolation. While we may feel compelled to help, it's crucial to recognize the limits of our influence and prioritize our own mental health. The teachings of Stoicism offer invaluable guidance in these situations, reminding us to focus on what we can control and let go of what we cannot. As we navigate these challenging relationships, let us remember the words of Marcus Aurelius. "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." By embodying this Stoic principle, we can face the chaos of a narcissist's collapse with resilience and grace. Number 6. Seeking control through routine. The sixth peculiar behavior a narcissist exhibits is an obsessive need to establish and maintain control through rigid routines. You might notice them suddenly adhering to a strict schedule, engaging in repetitive activities, or creating meticulous plans for daily tasks. Despite the internal chaos they are experiencing, this need for control serves as a desperate attempt to impose order on their turmoil. It's their way of managing anxiety and fear, as sticking to a routine gives them a semblance of stability and predictability, something their collapsing false self can no longer provide. Think about this. In our modern, fast-paced lives, haven't you seen someone who suddenly becomes overly obsessed with their routines? They might be a colleague who insists on having lunch at exactly 12 p.m. every day, or a friend who follows an overly detailed daily schedule. They might not be narcissists, but their behavior often echoes this need for control during turbulent times. When life feels out of control, clinging to routine can feel like holding on to a lifebuoy in a stormy sea. It's a common response to stress and uncertainty. Let's take Sarah, for instance. Sarah is a successful marketing executive who always seemed to have everything together. But when she went through a rough patch, a failed relationship and the sudden loss of a loved one, her meticulously planned days became even more structured. She started waking up at 5 a.m. sharp, eating the same breakfast every day, and following an exacting workout routine. Her friends noticed the change but thought it was just her way of coping. In reality, Sarah's rigid routines were her desperate attempt to find some control amidst the emotional chaos. Reflecting on this, have you ever found yourself resorting to strict routines when life becomes unpredictable? This behavior isn't inherently bad, but it's essential to understand the underlying reasons behind it. Are we, like the narcissist in Collapse, trying to manage anxiety and fear through control? The difference lies in awareness and the ability to adapt. Narcissists often lack the self-awareness to recognize the destructiveness of their behavior, while others can learn and grow from these experiences. By understanding this behavior, we can better support those around us who might be struggling. Instead of dismissing their need for routine as mere quirkiness, we can offer empathy and help them find healthier ways to cope. For those who might be dealing with their own crises, this awareness can be a stepping stone to self-compassion and growth. So, next time you notice someone, maybe even yourself, clinging tightly to routines during tough times, pause and reflect. Ask yourself, what is this routine providing? Is it a genuine need for order, or is it masking deeper anxiety and fear? By asking these questions, we can begin to unravel the layers of our behavior and find healthier ways to navigate our inner turmoil. In essence, rigid routines in times of collapse are a cry for help, a way to find grounding when everything else feels unstable. The lesson here is not to shun routines but to understand their place in our lives and use them mindfully. Routines can be a source of comfort, but they shouldn't become a prison. By maintaining this balance, we can manage life's ebbs and flows more gracefully. Recognize the signs of seeking control through routines, whether in yourself or others, and use this understanding to foster a more compassionate and supportive environment. This insight can help transform a potentially destructive behavior into an opportunity for growth and resilience. What are some routines you rely on, and what do they truly provide for you? Reflect on this and see how you can adapt these habits to serve you better in both calm and turbulent times. Number 7. Engaging in extreme self-promotion. When narcissists face a collapse, one particularly strange behavior they exhibit is an overwhelming urge to engage in extreme self-promotion. Picture this. Your social media feed suddenly becomes flooded with their exaggerated posts, each one boasting about their supposed achievements. They desperately seek validation and admiration from others, creating a facade to mask their deep-seated insecurities. This over-the-top self-aggrandizement starkly contrasts with their internal state of collapse. The root of this behavior lies in their insatiable need for external acknowledgement to momentarily fill the void left by their diminishing self-esteem. Think about it. Why would someone in a state of collapse where they feel their world is crumbling choose to flaunt their accomplishments so aggressively? It's because their sense of self-worth is so intricately tied to how others perceive them. As their internal confidence wanes, they cling to the hope that external praise will rebuild their crumbling self-image. This relentless need for external validation becomes their lifeline, a desperate attempt to sustain the identity they've built on a shaky foundation. Reflect on the words of Marcus Aurelius. The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know anything about the subject. Narcissists, during their collapse, fail to grasp this Stoic wisdom. They prioritize the quantity of their admirers over the quality of their achievements, seeking mass approval rather than genuine recognition. In their quest for validation, they miss the essence of true self-worth, which is independent of others' opinions. Imagine you're scrolling through your social media, and you see a person continuously posting about their successes. Initially, you might be impressed, but over time it becomes clear that their posts are more about seeking validation than sharing genuine joy. This behavior raises a fundamental question. Can true self-esteem be built on the fleeting and often superficial approval of others? Narcissists, in their moment of collapse, attempt to answer this with a resounding yes, despite the temporary and hollow nature of such validation. Consider how this behavior affects their relationships. Friends and acquaintances may start to notice the disparity between the narcissist's external bravado and their internal struggle. This disconnect can lead to frustration and alienation as people grow tired of the incessant self-promotion and start to see through the facade. It's a vicious cycle. The more they push for validation, the more isolated they become, which only deepens their need for external praise. Reflecting on Epictetus's teaching, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. We see that narcissists react to their collapse by amplifying their need for external validation. Instead of addressing their insecurities, they mask them with exaggerated self-promotion. This reaction prevents genuine self-reflection and growth, keeping them trapped in a cycle of dependency on others' approval. Engaging with the audience directly, let's ask ourselves, what drives this relentless need for external validation? Is it fear of confronting their own inadequacies? Or is it a deeply ingrained habit of measuring self-worth through others' eyes? Understanding this can help us empathize with their plight while recognizing the futility of seeking happiness through constant validation. Narcissists, during their collapse, live in a paradox. They present an image of strength and success to the world, while internally, they grapple with feelings of inadequacy and fear. This paradoxical behavior is not just a cry for help, but a testament to their inability to find true self-worth within themselves. Their extreme self-promotion is a desperate bid to convince themselves and others that they are valuable and successful, even when they feel anything but. Reflect on the idea that true self-esteem comes from within, as Seneca wisely noted, "He who is brave is free." Narcissists in their collapse are far from free. They are imprisoned by their need for constant validation, unable to break free from the chains of their own insecurities. Their self-promotion is an illusion of freedom, masking the reality of their inner turmoil. For those of us observing this behavior, it's a reminder to seek self-worth from within. We must ask ourselves, where do we derive our sense of value? Are we, like the collapsing narcissist, reliant on external praise? Or do we find strength in our intrinsic qualities and accomplishments? This reflection can guide us towards a more stable and fulfilling sense of self. When narcissists hit collapse, their extreme self-promotion is a fascinating yet tragic behavior. It underscores their relentless need for external validation and highlights the fragile nature of their self-esteem. By understanding this, we can better empathize with their struggles and remind ourselves of the importance of finding true self-worth from within, not from the fleeting approval of others. As we navigate our own lives, let's heed the wisdom of the Stoics and build a foundation of self-esteem that is resilient and independent of external validation. If you've made it this far, you're truly embracing the Stoic path. Drop a comment saying, "I am resilient," to show your commitment to understanding and navigating the complexities of narcissistic behavior. Stick around, the journey of growth and wisdom continues. Number 8. Developing sudden and intense new interests. Narcissists, when faced with the collapse of their self-image, often exhibit bewildering behaviors that can leave those around them puzzled and searching for answers. Understanding these behaviors can be crucial, not just for dealing with narcissists, but also for navigating our own responses and maintaining our emotional well-being. Let's dive into other peculiar actions and uncover the hidden motives behind it, all while drawing wisdom from the timeless teachings of Stoicism. When a narcissist's carefully constructed self-image begins to crumble, they frequently seek solace in developing sudden and intense new interests. This behavior, though perplexing to those who witness it, serves a clear purpose for the narcissist. They might abruptly become fitness fanatics, dedicating hours at the gym, or they might immerse themselves in artistic endeavors with an unprecedented fervor. These new passions are more than mere hobbies. They are lifelines for the narcissist, desperate attempts to forge a new identity and escape the unbearable reality of their collapsing self. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, People are not disturbed by things but by the view they take of them. For the narcissist, these new interests are a way to alter their perspective, to distract from the internal chaos, and avoid confronting the true source of their distress. This intense engagement is not just about the activity itself. It is a frantic search for meaning and validation in an external world that seems more controllable than their inner turmoil. In modern life, we can draw parallels between the narcissist's behavior and our own tendencies to seek distractions when faced with personal crises. While most of us might not exhibit the extreme behaviors of a narcissist, it's common to dive into new projects or hobbies as a way to cope with stress or uncertainty. The key difference, however, lies in the purpose and intensity of these pursuits. While healthy interests can provide a meaningful outlet and a way to grow, for the narcissist, these pursuits are often shallow and short-lived, serving only to mask deeper issues. Expanding on this, let's consider the example of someone who, after a significant personal setback, suddenly takes up marathon running. At first glance, this new interest might seem like a positive and healthy way to deal with stress. However, if the motivation behind it is to entirely avoid addressing the underlying emotional pain, it can become just another form of escapism. In the case of a narcissist, this pattern is amplified. Their new interests are pursued with a level of intensity that can seem obsessive, not because of a genuine passion, but because they are desperately trying to fill a void left by their collapsing self-esteem. The Stoic approach advises us to confront our challenges directly, to understand and accept our emotions rather than fleeing from them. Marcus Aurelius, another revered Stoic philosopher, wisely noted, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This teaching encourages us to seek stability within ourselves, rather than relying on external activities to provide a fleeting sense of identity and purpose. For those observing a narcissist in their life, recognizing these behaviors can be a step towards understanding and compassion. It's essential to realize that while their actions might be frustrating or confusing, they are rooted in deep-seated fear and insecurity. Rather than reacting with anger or frustration, applying Stoic principles can help us maintain our own equilibrium. By focusing on what we can control, our responses and attitudes, we can navigate these interactions with greater serenity and resilience. In advising our audience, it's crucial to emphasize the importance of balance and self-awareness. Engaging in new interests is not inherently negative. It's the intention and intensity behind these pursuits that matter. Encouraging self-reflection and mindful engagement in activities can lead to more fulfilling and sustainable interests. Instead of using hobbies as a means to escape, they should be a way to enrich our lives and contribute to our overall well-being. The peculiar behavior of a narcissist developing sudden and intense new interests when they hit collapse is a reflection of their struggle to cope with a shattered self-image. By understanding this behavior through the lens of Stoic philosophy, we can gain valuable insights into their motives and learn to respond in ways that protect our own mental and emotional health. Embracing the wisdom of the Stoics, we can navigate these challenges with grace, finding strength within ourselves and maintaining a steady course through life's turbulent waters. Number 9. Escalating conflicts in relationships. When a narcissist experiences collapse, they may start escalating conflicts in their relationships. This strange behavior isn't just a random act of aggression. It's a deliberate attempt to project their inner chaos onto others. By stirring up drama and conflict, they create a smokescreen that diverts attention away from their own vulnerabilities and shortcomings. In their minds, making others seem like the problem provides a temporary escape from their inner turmoil. It's a twisted way to regain a sense of control and superiority, as the narcissist feels empowered by shifting the blame. This pattern of behavior can be exhausting and bewildering for those close to them, often leading to further isolation as friends and family members become wary of the narcissist's toxic tendencies. Think about a friend or colleague who always seems to create drama out of nowhere. One moment everything is fine, and the next they've sparked an argument over something trivial. This is a classic move for a narcissist in collapse mode. They may pick fights over small issues or blow minor disagreements out of proportion. The goal is to make you doubt yourself and focus on the conflict, rather than seeing their weaknesses. Have you ever noticed how these individuals always seem to have a way of turning the tables, making themselves the victim or the hero while you're left confused and frustrated? It's a disorienting experience, designed to keep you off balance. Now let's draw a parallel to a modern-day scenario. Imagine a high-pressure workplace where one of your colleagues is always the source of conflict. They might start arguments during meetings, criticize others unfairly, or create alliances just to break them later. This isn't just office politics. It's a manifestation of their need to project their own inner chaos onto the environment. By keeping everyone else on edge, they temporarily alleviate their own insecurities and mask their lack of control. This behavior doesn't just affect their immediate circle. It can poison the entire workplace atmosphere, leading to mistrust and low morale. Think back to a time when you've seen someone escalate a conflict seemingly out of the blue. What was the outcome? Did it bring people closer or did it push them away? More often than not, it leads to further isolation. Friends and family start to recognize the pattern and distance themselves to protect their own peace of mind. This creates a vicious cycle for the narcissist. Their attempts to avoid facing their vulnerabilities by projecting them onto others only results in deeper loneliness and alienation. Here's a story to bring this concept to life. Picture a young professional, Sarah, who always seems to find herself at odds with her colleagues. Whenever a project is near completion, Sarah starts to nitpick, finding faults and stirring up issues that weren't there before. Her coworkers are baffled and stressed, as these conflicts seem unnecessary and counterproductive. What they don't see is Sarah's underlying fear of inadequacy and failure. By causing conflicts, she shifts the focus away from her own performance anxiety. Her behavior disrupts the team's harmony, but in her mind, it temporarily shields her from her deepest fears. Over time, however, her colleagues start to see the pattern and begin to avoid working closely with her, leading Sarah to feel even more isolated and misunderstood. Why do you think some people escalate conflicts when they're feeling insecure? What impact does this have on their relationships and their own mental state? These open-ended questions invite you to reflect on your own experiences and observations, creating a deeper understanding of the dynamics at play. The lesson here is clear. Conflict for the sake of avoiding inner turmoil is a destructive path. It not only harms relationships but also leads to further isolation for the narcissist. For those on the receiving end, recognizing this pattern is crucial. Understanding that the root cause of the conflict lies in the narcissist's own struggles can help you maintain your own peace and avoid getting drawn into the chaos. Embracing Stoic principles, such as maintaining your inner calm and not taking the bait of unnecessary conflict, can be a powerful tool in dealing with such situations. It allows you to respond with wisdom and compassion, rather than getting swept up in the emotional turmoil. Remember, the only control we truly have is over our own actions and reactions. By staying grounded and focused on what truly matters, we can navigate these turbulent interactions with grace and resilience. So next time you encounter someone trying to escalate a conflict, pause and reflect. What might they be trying to avoid within themselves? How can you stay centered and not get pulled into their drama? These are the questions that can guide you toward a more peaceful and empowered way of handling the complexities of human relationships. Number 10. Resorting to excessive spending. When a narcissist hits collapse, one of the strange behaviors they exhibit is resorting to excessive spending. They might start splurging on luxury items, planning extravagant trips, or making large, unnecessary purchases. This spending spree isn't just about the stuff they buy. It's their way of filling an emotional void and trying to regain a sense of power and importance through material possessions. Think about it as their way of clinging to a fleeting sense of control and gratification. The thrill of spending offers them a temporary high, making them feel momentarily empowered. Yet, this often leads to financial instability, adding another layer of stress and anxiety to their already chaotic state. Narcissists, when faced with the collapse of their false self, desperately seek to reclaim a sense of control, admiration, and identity through external means. Their actions, though varied, share a common thread: an attempt to mask and escape their profound inner crisis. Consider the wisdom of Epictetus, who said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." When narcissists collapse, their excessive spending is a stark contrast to this Stoic principle. They accumulate more and more, mistakenly believing that possessions can fill the void within them. But what happens when the thrill fades and they are left with nothing but an emptier soul and a lighter wallet? So why do narcissists turn to excessive spending when they collapse? It's an attempt to distract themselves from their inner turmoil. They use material possessions to feel significant, hoping that the outside world will see them as successful and powerful. This behavior is a desperate cry for validation and a way to avoid facing their own insecurities. But do these purchases truly make them happy? Do they find the lasting contentment they crave? The Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Narcissists are trapped in a cycle of craving more, believing that the next purchase will finally make them feel whole. However, this endless pursuit only deepens their sense of emptiness. They fail to realize that true contentment comes from within, not from the accumulation of things. Engaging in excessive spending also provides narcissists with a temporary sense of control. When their lives feel out of control, spending money becomes a way to assert dominance over something. But this control is illusory, as it only masks the underlying issues for a short time. Eventually, the financial strain catches up with them, and the sense of control crumbles, leaving them even more vulnerable. Let's ponder the words of Marcus Aurelius. "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Narcissists, in their collapse, are plagued by negative thoughts and a lack of self-worth. They mistakenly believe that external possessions can change their inner reality. But can material wealth ever replace the need for genuine self-acceptance and inner peace? As narcissists spiral into excessive spending, they often find themselves in financial turmoil. The stress of mounting debt and financial instability only compounds their anxiety. This financial chaos can lead to even more desperate measures as they try to maintain their facade of success and control. But is it worth the cost? Is the fleeting sense of power worth the long-term consequences? In the end, the behavior of excessive spending when narcissists collapse is a symptom of a deeper issue. It's a way to avoid facing their true selves and the reality of their situation. They believe that by surrounding themselves with luxury, they can escape their inner turmoil. But true peace and contentment can only be found by looking inward and addressing the root of their problems. As we reflect on the peculiar behavior of narcissists when they collapse, it's essential to recognize the underlying motivations. Their actions are driven by a desperate need to feel important, validated, and in control. But these external means are merely temporary fixes, masking the profound inner crisis they face. Consider the wisdom of the Stoics, who taught that true contentment comes from within. Seneca reminded us that he who is content is rich, and this timeless lesson is particularly relevant for those struggling with narcissistic collapse. Excessive spending may offer a fleeting sense of relief, but lasting fulfillment comes from cultivating a strong and resilient inner self. So let's pose some questions to reflect on. Can we find lasting happiness through material possessions, or does true contentment come from within? How can we shift our focus from external validation to inner peace and self-acceptance? And what steps can we take to ensure that our actions align with our true values and principles? By exploring these questions, we can better understand the behavior of narcissists and learn valuable lessons about the pursuit of true contentment. In the end, the journey toward inner peace and self-acceptance is a path that each of us must walk, and the wisdom of the Stoics can guide us along the way. Narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, is a complex mental health condition characterized by an inflated sense of self-importance and a deep need for excessive attention and admiration. People with NPD often display a grandiose view of their own abilities and achievements, believing they are superior to others. This inflated self-perception can lead to unrealistic expectations of special treatment and constant validation. They crave excessive attention and admiration from others. Those with this disorder often struggle to understand or empathize with other people's feelings. Despite their outward display of confidence, they are unsure of their own self-worth and are highly sensitive to criticism. This disorder can lead to significant problems in various aspects of life, including relationships, work, education, and financial matters. Individuals with narcissistic personality disorder may feel unhappy and disappointed when they do not receive the special treatment or admiration they believe they deserve. Their relationships often suffer and lack fulfillment, and others may find it challenging to be around them. The primary treatment for narcissistic personality disorder is talk therapy, also known as psychotherapy. Narcissistic personality disorder is more common in males than females, and typically begins in the teenage years or early adulthood. While some children may display narcissistic traits, this is usually a normal part of development and does not necessarily indicate they will develop narcissistic personality disorder. Treatment for narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, primarily involves psychotherapy, which aims to help individuals develop healthier self-esteem and improve their ability to relate to others. Various forms of therapy, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, schema therapy, dialectical behavior therapy, DBT, and psychoanalytic or psychodynamic therapy, are used to achieve these goals. Therapy focuses on developing empathy, building a realistic self-image, managing emotions, improving relationships, and setting realistic goals. Additional support, like medication for associated symptoms, group therapy, and family therapy, can also be beneficial. Treatment requires a long-term commitment and overcoming resistance to change, but successful therapy can lead to improved relationships, enhanced self-esteem, and greater life satisfaction. Ultimately, a comprehensive approach in therapy helps individuals with NPD manage their symptoms and achieve meaningful improvements in their lives. Thank you for watching this video on 10 weird things a narcissist does when they hit collapse. Our goal today was to shed light on the bizarre and often misunderstood behaviors of narcissists during their collapse phase, helping you better understand the complexities of narcissistic personality and their coping mechanisms. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Stoic In Your Life, and turn on notifications so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos. Together, let's continue to spread awareness and foster a deeper understanding of narcissistic behavior and recovery. Until next time, stay strong, stay informed, and let Stoicism guide you through life's challenges.